I hope you enjoyed the hand activity and really felt into all those different experiences that we have in our body, even just by imagining different people touching us. So, now we get down to the juicy stuff. Here are 3 techniques you can use to improve your consent conversations. Number 1, really simple. Can we have a conversation about whatever it is you want to talk about? Can we have a conversation about how we have sex? Can we have a conversation about how you touch me? Can we have a conversation about the foreplay that we enjoy? Can we have a conversation about trying something new in the bedroom? The possibilities are endless, and it's a really easy and gentle way to introduce something to your partner or partners. Can we have a conversation about? And it gives you some space to say yes or no, to say maybe not now, without injecting any must or should or I need to talk to you about this or you need to listen to me about this. So, can we have a conversation is quite a neutral way to introduce a new subject. On top of that, I would encourage you to put some boundaries around it. So, what you might want to say is, can we have a conversation about it? When do you have 15 minutes spare? Because one of the things about consent conversations is because they're awkward, it can be good to have a sense of containment. So it's like, okay, this might be awkward, and they're not for everyone. But if they are awkward, then say, let's just have a 10-minute conversation about whatever it is, about what happens after we have sex, about what happens when the kids come in and we're having sex, whatever it is. So try that very neutral statement, let's have a conversation about. Try and put a time boundary around it. And the last point with this is have something finite at the end. So when the conversation ends, whether it's timed or you just come to a natural conclusion, see if you can give yourself and your partner or partners rewards. So maybe it's like, oh, I'm so glad we did that. Let's have a hug. Let's have a glass of wine. Let's have a piece of cake. Let's go out for a drink if you're not in lockdown. Whatever it is, find a treat, a reward that marks the end of that conversation and leave that conversation. You're much better off having a series of 10, 20-minute conversations over a week or two or a month than trying to thrash out everything in an hour and a half conversation. It's not going to bring joy to either of you for the most part. So, number 1, can we have a conversation about with time limits and with a reward at the end and a finite stop? If it's going well and you want to talk about it more, you might still want to at least take a pause and talk about it later in the day or the next day. So we come to number 2. This can be useful if you're already in a situation where you feel that your consent is slipping or things are not going the way you want. And this is also very simple. It's, I need to stop, I need to slow down, I need to take a breather, I need to go to the loo, I need a pee break. And again, it's a pause and it's relatively neutral in language. And the way that we construct this is in 2 parts. The first part is subjective. I want, I need, this needs to happen for me, right? So the first part is we own something that is happening for us. I feel, I need, I'm too hot, I'm thirsty, whatever it is, the first part relates to us. In contrast, we want the second part to be as objective as possible. So if we say to someone, I want to slow down, your idea of going slower and their idea of going slower could be completely different. It also doesn't tell them if you just want to slow down for a bit and will then keep going, or if actually you want to slow down and grind to a halt. And sexually speaking, these can be very different. So what we want is to be really clear in that second half of the sentence and say, for example, I need to slow down. I want to keep all my clothes on for the rest of tonight. Or I need to go for a break. I'm going to get a glass of water. There are many forms it can take, and it is really that simple. But it's important that the second part is not something that the other person has to guess at the meaning or interpret in any way. The last thing I want to mention about the second approach or technique is if you need to leave the room, and that's appropriate depending on how you're dressed and who is outside, go for it. A lot of the time, what we need is to be outside of someone else's space, their headspace, their energy, their aura, to be able to pull ourselves back into our body. So, this is why I often say to clients go to the loo if you need, or the toilet, if you need to take a break. It's also a very socially acceptable way of taking 2 minutes or so away from someone else. So, if you're not sure, go for a break, be in a separate room, and just breathe back into your body and work out what it is you want to say. Number 3 is the use of analogies. Now, some people do this a lot in their language anyway, and some people don't. But it's a way of adding a bit of humor to a situation that can otherwise be quite awkward or a bit difficult to talk about. If it was super easy for you, you probably wouldn't be watching this. So you might want to compare a certain situation to having training wheels, or the idea of eating different types of food, or a buffet. One of the things that I often talk about is in terms of sexual variety, you might really like homemade cooking 6 nights of the week, but you still want to eat out once a week, right? Or maybe most of the time you like having European cuisine, but every so often you want Chinese or Ethiopian. And again, it's like maybe you want to introduce a little bit of kink, maybe you want to have kink every night. See if you can find analogies that work for you and your partner. And the chances are, in most partnerships, you already have quite a lot of shared knowledge and understanding. So there will be things you can draw on, whether it's TV shows or music, where you have these analogies. So see if that helps. Obviously, if it's too convoluted, then it might not make sense to your partner. But it can be a very easy way to explain something to your partner, comparing it to something else. And it takes some of the charge away, because then what you're talking about is no longer sexual, for example, with food. It's very easy to understand that someone doesn't want to eat the same meal every single day.